Welcome back to PreciseAlgorithmTrading.com. It's Friday night. Happy weekend. It's Friday, May 10th, 2024. And let's dive in here. I'm going to do a quick video tonight because we did an extensive one last night. So, let's see. Our automated trading systems. The Dow went sideways today, I think. Looking at individual trades. That looks pretty sideways. The Russell looks like it's trying to climb back another day. Oh, nope. There's nothing there. No trades today, so that's just the last couple days. Few, I guess. And then the NASDAQ is challenging more. So downside today. And 3 negative trades. So we got quite a few trades in a row. And I'm going to try to apply that volume indicator or the volume metric to the same algorithm and see if it improves this at all. And more to come on that. So that's one of my projects for the next week or two, or 3. I'm going to be traveling some here in the next couple weeks too. All right. Let's see. Where were we? So the markets today, if this thing will cooperate, the S&P went up 8.6. The Dow went up 125. The Dow ended up closing at 39,512. So that 40,000 mark is just overhead again. But I guess I'm going to go on record and say we're not going to hit it this time. We're going to pull back. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean anything, but I think we're at kind of a precipice of where this is going to start to fail. And there's reasons I say that. In fact, I think they're already drawn here on the Dow futures as soon as it flips over. Well, it's actually more on the S&P. Check out these lines that, if you've been following along, we drew these in over multiple days. And this one, it climbed above it. And now look how it's like walking right underneath there. It just so happens it's walking right underneath the Keltner channel as well. Now, that could be buildup, and we're going to get a pop above. So maybe we get something more definitive next week, like a blow off top, and it actually does come up, hit that, and then come back. But I think what we're in for is some sideways action that's going to come back at least to these moving averages. And then by then, maybe the moving averages will have turned up and both turned green again. And then we could be off to the races. But I just don't see that happening. We're so overextended to the upside here again on this short-term move back up. We're above the Keltner channels. We went from below the Keltner channels to above the Keltner channels. I've illustrated that more often than not, and I think we're in for coming back down to the bottom of the Keltner channels here pretty shortly, or come down to the midline, the mean, and that would coincide with this diagonal drawn in here. That would coincide there pretty well actually, and with the cloud. And so we're up against all that. Basically, what we can expect is some pullback, and we shouldn't be surprised when that comes. So the S&P went up 8.6, the Dow went up 125, the Russell went down 13.85, or minus 0.67%. Let's look at that on the futures. So that's up against the Keltner channels and putting in a bearish bar, but it doesn't look like a reversal bar. So, and the bottom Keltner channel has turned positive. It's turned up. Now, you know, that's not a reliable thing. You look back here where it turned up and down and up and down and finally went up. So the top one looks like it's trying to turn sideways. So anyways, let's keep an eye on that. And we've turned red on the hourly bars over here. So that's something to keep an eye on. That pullback makes sense here too. So the Nasdaq went down 5 points or hardly anything, and it's just doing the same kind of thing. We are in a squeeze on the hourly chart, which we don't talk about the squeeze a whole lot, but that's a Keltner and Bollinger Band squeeze, and it's basically it's when the Keltner channels get inside the Bollinger Bands, which basically means that volatility has gone sideways. So is price, and when it breaks out, depending on, well, it doesn't matter which direction it's supposed to make a big move. And you can see back here these pink dots that turn yellow. It was in a squeeze and then out of it, and then when it finally did break, it was here, and it broke down and it moved quite a bit. And that's the whole point. So a big move from here could get us beyond the Keltner channels to the downside, and that should be expected. But I don't want to discount that it could go the other direction as well. Either way isn't really that big of a move in the scheme of things here on the hourly chart. Let's look at it on a 4-hour. $17,982. Gets us down into this neck of the woods. So, okay. Moving on. The transportation index, we'll look at the IYT. It doesn't look like it's over to the downside yet. And I think that's enough of all that. Here's the USO. It's started to act like it was going to come back up. Now it looks like it's continuing its path lower. And it should run into some support. We got multiple lines of potential support here. We are below the Keltner channels. We're at the Keltner channels on the hourly chart as well, or getting there. And we do have a break of structure to the upside, so there is a potential for reversal coming in down here. And technically speaking, this low should hold if that's the case. The one that's pointed out down here, 74.55 should hold, but again, there's no guarantees of that. So you can see a little bit of bullishness popping in there with the moving average turning green again. So, and again, these are both 30-period moving averages. Just one of them is weighted, and the other one is a standard moving average or simple moving average. And well, you can see for yourself that when they both work together, the prices tend to go in that trend. So, which is actually pretty cool. All right. Let's look at something I haven't looked at for a bit. Well, gold before we get into that. So gold's got some bullish volume coming in. Nothing I want to step in front of though. And I wanted to look at, if I could find it real quick. Let's look at BITO for, yeah, it's bearish. Looks like it's not anywhere close to bouncing quite yet. The dollar is rising. XLF, which is financials, is actually starting to look stronger. And UNG, that's what I was looking for. Natural gas. So natural gas looks like it's trying to come off the bottom. And of course now it's looking at like it's going to hit overhead resistance, but once this thing actually turns around, that boy, we could get a lot back. It's been bearish now for quite a while. When it was bullish though, look how great it was. So when this thing finally does bounce, boy, it's going to be a really good trading opportunity when it really does it. So we could look at the weekly, start to see some of that kind of action. Maybe when the weekly and the daily line up. And then maybe even look at the monthly. So we've been way down. We're against the lower Keltner channel on a monthly graph as well. So anyway, just something I'm stalking. Alright, let's flip to here. Well, let's look at copper since we're talking about some of this stuff. Boy, that's been on a nice run. Momentum. This is a Momentum ETF, exchange traded fund, and it's a nice tradable instrument. So I wouldn't go long here, but when it flips, whatever the next candle turns either red or green, that would be the way I'd want to go. So there we go. That's that. Go to stockcharts.com. And finish this thing up with the bullish percent indexes. The industrials didn't move today. The NYA up 1.42%. Transportation index put in a point and figure buy signal, and that's a big deal. Let's take another look at that. IYT. That's fascinating. So I'm going to say on the next dip, that is a potential buying opportunity, although you could just wait for the confirmation of the red moving averages changing to green as well. So, but that's got some underlying strength. I forgot to pop these up here while we're at it. So that's the IYT looking like it's starting to think about reversing. /ES. This is the ES where it was reversing and now it's reversing lower. This is part of the reason why I was talking about it out of the gate. I think we're going to get some selling back to the mean. That's the ES. If we look at the /YM, we're getting something similar here. And markets unfold from the inside out. So the 15-minute chart, you know, if it starts to sell off, then that can turn into the 30-minute, which can turn into the hour, which can turn into 4-hour, and then the daily. And then what I like to start to do is watch when the 15-minute starts to pop back up again. Then that obviously can call a shift the other direction. And then you pair that up with what's going on in the bullish percent indexes and the overall markets, and you know, that stuff all works together and can work together really nicely. Here's the VIX, and I talked about this last night. We're actually against the lower Keltner channels, not against the lower Bollinger Bands. So this is that. We actually had strength in the market, but then we had a sell-off at the end of the day. And then we're looking at here's the Dow with the Ichimoku cloud, and we've come up above the top of the cloud, which can be a buy signal in and of itself. But this, I think this is a head fake, where we broke this trend line to the downside. We came up, and now we're going to come back and retest the trend line, and then we'll see if we're going to be able to come up and break the cloud for real. Unless this thing just takes off, which certainly could happen. But I don't think it's all that likely. But it could. All right, and then let's go back to the star charts. That was the transportation index, the NASDAQ, up 0.44%. The S&P 500 tacked on 2 X's, went up 4.23%. The NASDAQ 100 went up 2.13% and is in a point and figure buy signal. So that's our review for the end of the week. Hope it helps. Take care, guys. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you later.